dear students, today we will be discussing the exercise of the chapter friction. Now in this chapter we have discussed what is friction, and before starting friction we have discussed about spring, that is spring balance. Then we have discussed spring, types of then we have discussed friction, then we have discussed the types of frictions. After that we have discussed what is rolling friction is, and then the effect of friction we have studied, and after that we have studied that the friction due to this liquid and gases, and after this we have studied about that friction is a necessary evil. Then we have studied advantages and disadvantages of friction, and finally we have studied the ways of reducing frictions and the ways to increase friction. Now we will be discussing the exercise related to this chapter. Okay, so let me write down heading exercise. Okay, now the first question, as you always, tick the right option, sahi चिन्ह लगाए. Okay, so you will be having a question, उसमें 4 options होंगे. You will be correcting or putting a tick mark on the check box adjacent to it, which is the correct option. Okay, so the A question is, first, the force called into play when two bodies in contact with one another is A. Electrostatic force, B. Mechanical force, C. Frictional force, or D. Gravitational force. So the correct answer is C. Frictional force. Okay. Second, a car is moving towards southeast. The force of friction acting on the car is towards. Now students, the options are A. Southeast, B. Southwest, C. Northeast, and D. Northwest. So let's suppose draw this. This is north, this is south, this is your east, and this is your west. So the car is in which direction? It is in southeast direction. So this is the direction in which that car is moving. Okay. Now the friction force is a force which is opposite to the motion. So this is the motion, so opposite motion is this. Now let's take, this is northeast, this is southwest, and this is northwest. So the correct answer is northwest. So the option D is correct, that is northwest. Okay. Third, the increasing order of friction of the surfaces of glass, wood and sand. बच्चा अब glass बहुत ज़्यादा smooth होता है, you all know. Wood is less smooth and sand is very rough, because sand के हर एक particle different होता है, so they have no binding to it. So the correct option, the options are A. Sand, glass, wood, B. Wood, glass, sand, C. Glass, sand, wood, and D. Glass, wood and sand. So the correct answer is D. Glass, wood and sand. Okay. Fourth, force of friction always A. Opposes the motion of the body and tries to stop the body. B. Favors the motion of the body and tries to accelerate the body. C. Remains ineffective on the body. D. All of the above. Now बच्चा C है remain ineffective to the body, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता. So C and D option both are cancelled. Now we will be talking A and B. Now B is favor the motion. Now the definition of friction is it opposes the motion. So B is also cancelled. So correct answer is A. So A is the correct answer, that is opposes the motion of the body and tries to stop the body. Okay. Now, fifth question. The decreasing order of static, rolling and dynamic friction is A. Dynamic, static and rolling. B. Rolling, static, dynamic. C. Static, rolling and dynamic. And D. Static, dynamic and rolling. So which is decreasing order मतलब बड़ी सी छोटा. So सबसे ज़्यादा friction कौन सा होता है? Static, फिर dynamic, फिर rolling. So the correct answer is of this fifth question is D. That is static, dynamic and rolling. Okay, so please note down the answers for this. Tick the, that is, read the following questions carefully and tick the right options. Okay, now we'll be doing this B question, that is fill in the blanks with appropriate word. Hopefully आपने सब answers लिख लिए. Now we'll be going to rub this answers for you. Now we'll be doing the B, that is fill in the blanks. कोई statement है, उसमें कोई blank है, you have to fill that blank. Okay, it's very simple for you that you'll be just filling that blank with the appropriate word that you think suits there. Okay, now B, first question. Friction always acts in the direction dash to the direction of the applied force, in the direction opposite. So the word that going to be filled is opposite. Second question, friction is very useful as it helps in the dash of bodies, as it helps in the motion of bodies. Third, boats and aeroplanes are dashed so to reduce fluid friction. Streamlined. Okay, what they are done? They are streamlined. Streamlined. Fourth, dash friction is a self-adjusting force. Static friction is a self-adjusting force. Fifth, dash friction is 10 times greater than the rolling friction. So the friction that is greater than the rolling friction is sliding. Friction is greater than rolling friction. Now we'll be doing the next question, that is the C question, which is write true or false for the following statement. आपके पास statement है, either that statement can be true or either that statement can be false. अगर आपको वो statement सही लगती है तो please write down true against it, and if आपको लगता है कि वो statement गलत है, so you please write false against it. Okay, so I'm rubbing this and we'll be doing the C question. Okay. Okay, let's do. See, first question. Sliding friction is another name for dynamic friction. So it is true. Dynamic friction and dynamic friction or sliding friction are both one name. Second, friction is independent of the nature of surface in contact with one another. It very much depends on the nature of surface, so it is false. Okay. Third, friction of air makes the meteor burns. बच्चा आप जब meteors आते हैं, so वो air particles के साथ, because of their speed, they form this friction, and this friction is so much high, and because of the speed of the meteors, it is this air particles catch fire. So yes, it is also true. Fourth, the maximum force of friction called into play when one body slides over another is called sliding friction. It is false. This is called a limiting friction. So, false. Fifth, this is the last one. The friction between two surfaces can be reduced by polishing the surfaces. It is true. Okay. Yes, we can reduce the friction by polishing. Okay. So this completes a question C, that is write true or false for the following statements. Now we will be doing the D question, that is match the column A with column B. Now students, how we will be doing this question. I am going to write here the name numberings. slide them like this. Column A and this is column B. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here will be first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. Okay. So these are the options that are given. Now we will be joining these options. So first one is, now let me write down the answers of the here, because it's a very big statements are there and it will not cover the both, so I am only writing for the column B. Now for the column B is rolling friction, friction, limiting friction, okay. Now after that it is static friction, then it is sliding friction, then streamlining, okay. So these are the options that are given. Now we will match the column with A and B. Now the first is, that is the first one is, the opposing force called into play when two surfaces in contact with each other slide relative to one another. So the correct option for this is friction. Okay. Now second, okay, the second one, the friction experienced when a body is made to move over rollers. जब भी rollers की बात आ जाएंगी तो कौन सा friction होगा? It will be rolling friction. Third, this one, the friction called into play when two bodies in contact with each other do not move on the application of force. It comes for static friction. Static friction में कोई movement नहीं होता है. Okay. Now this fourth one, the friction called into play when one body just slide over another body. So जब just आ जाएगा तो हम बात करेंगे sliding friction की. Okay. The special shape of the body due to which it experiences least fluid friction is called streamlining. This is the shape of the objects which is called streamlined objects, which has low or least amount or least effect of fluid friction. Sixth is the friction called into play when two bodies slide over one another at constant speed. So this is sliding friction. So I hope you are clear for this. Match the column A with column B. Now we'll be doing the next question, that is your E question, and this question is correct the following statements and rewrite them. So students, एक statement लिखी भी होगी and that statement is wrong. Okay, so you have to correct that statement and find out what is wrong in that statement. So let's do that question. Okay, let me do this first. This is, so the question number is E. Okay, so the first statement is sliding friction is slightly more than limiting friction. Okay. Second, conveyor belts are made rough in order to decrease friction. Okay. Now the third one is the friction between two surfaces. The friction between two surfaces decreases with the increase in the weight of body. Okay. Next statement is fourth. The friction offered by the wheels is called sliding friction. Okay. Now next question is the fifth one, and this is the last one. Friction increases with the increase in the area of contact at the two surfaces. Okay. So now we'll be solving this question. Let's do first question. Sliding friction is slightly more than limiting friction. Now students, this statement is wrong, and where it is wrong? Here. Okay. Now sliding friction or dynamic friction is slightly less than limiting friction. So from more की जगह यहाँ पे क्या आएगा? Less. So this is the correct statement. So this statement will be replaced by this. Okay. So this will be less. Okay. Now the second statement. Conveyor belts are made rough. Yes, they are made rough in order to decrease friction. No, bacha, rough surface has more friction. So this decrease will come, and it will be coming. I will writing in blue bold, so आपको पता है कि कहाँ पे हम changes कर रहे हैं. So in order to increase friction. Now the third one, the friction between two surfaces decreases with the increase in the weight of a body. Now students, हम इसे दो तरह से कर सकते हैं. Either we can change this word or we can change this word, but only one word has to be changed. Okay? Or you can change the words. यहाँ पे increase ला दीजिए, यहाँ पे decrease ला दीजिए. Okay? So क्या कर सकते हैं हम? The friction between the two surfaces increase with the increase in the weight of a body. Okay? So let me write down here. Okay? Increase. Okay? Or you can also write the friction between the two surfaces increase with the decrease in the weight of, or just this much the statement is correct. Okay? Only one you have to change. Now let's do, okay, 1 minute. Increases. Okay. Now the fourth one, the friction offered by the wheel is called sliding friction. Now the friction offered by the wheels is not sliding friction, it is rolling friction. Okay, wheels and rollers जो भी friction offer करते हैं, that are called, so it is rolling friction. Now the fifth one, friction increases with the increase in the area of contact at the two surfaces. Now the friction bacha decreases with the increase in the area of contact. Okay, friction increases with the increase in the area of contact. So the answer will be changing this one. Okay, so we can be changing this to decrease. Okay, let me write down. Decreases. Okay, so this is the correct answers and we will be writing this correct statements. So I'm clear for this question. Now we'll be doing the F question, that is answer the following questions. Okay, now let me wrap this first. Now this F question is simply you have to write this answers in your notebooks, and I'm just discussing or giving you pointers so that you can solve this question by yourself. Now the answer the following questions. First, what causes friction? So you will be writing that irregularities causes frictions in the surfaces of the bodies. Second, what are the advantages of frictions? They are the advantages given in your book. So you will be writing that advantages of friction. Now why is friction called a necessary evil? There is a small paragraph given in your book regarding this topic, so you can just write that answers. Fourth, what are the disadvantages of friction? There are 3 disadvantages of friction that are given in your book. Please note down that. Now, next is fifth question. Why is friction called a perverse force? But a perverse force means it's like it's very much essential also. It's like a force which is required, and it has a bad thing also. It's not good also. It's not bad also. So that's why it's also called a perverse force. Now sixth, distinguish between static friction and dynamic friction. So you just take an example. What is static friction? Write down the definition and write down the definition of static friction, and please that activity given in your book regarding the effects, so that you can know the effects of static, dynamic and this limiting friction. You can also take pointers from there. Now seventh, how is rolling friction caused? So you will be writing about this. I have told you about this this plane surface. If a roller is placed on this plane surface, so what happens? The surface is formed an inclined plane, and this ball or this roller, this also get deformed, so that rolling is done very easily. So you will be discussing about this. Okay. Now the 8th question is, what is limiting friction? Now what is limiting friction, students? The friction or the maximum friction force that is required to just move the object from its static position, or the limit of static friction. So you will be writing the definition of limiting friction. Now the 9th question is, what do you understand by the term streamlining? So you will be defining the shape. What is streamlining? That is, from front it is pointed, and in the middle it is elongated. Okay, and from the back it is also then lower in shape, or this concave in shape. Okay, it's type of concave type shape. Now, and name a few machines which are streamlining to reduce friction. Aeroplanes, boats, ships. You can write the names of this. Okay, jets, planes, rockets. Okay. Now the 10th question. Name 2 solid lubricants. Where and why are they used? So solid lubricant, grease and fine powder. Okay, grease are used in machines, heavy machines, and you know this fine powder is used in caroms. Okay, if we play caroms, you used to put this solid lubricant. Now we'll be discussing the next question, that is HOTS. What is HOTS? HOTS is high order thinking skill question. There are 2 questions given for this. Can heat energy evolved during friction be utilized for different activities? Give a reason in support of your answer. Of course, students, the heat energy that is produced in friction can be utilized. You can just give an example of lighting the matchstick. Okay, so it can be utilized for other activities. Second question that is given in your HOTS is, why do shoes of football players are fitted with spikes? जिससे कि वो slip नहीं करें और गिरे नहीं, because they have so much momentum in their body when they are running, it may cause them very serious injuries. So this is about HOTS. Then we'll be discussing the project work, and this is a simple project work for you. All the work has been done in your books, okay? You just have to form a report. So prepare a report of on any of the following topics. There are 4 topics given: methods to reduce friction, methods to increase friction, advantages of friction, and disadvantages of friction. And you can use the help of books, magazine, or internet to collect information and try to take beautiful pictures out of the internet and make your report very presentable. Now the next thing that you have to do is activity. Okay, this is about activity. So one activity is also given. If possible, organize a visit to a nearby factory or manufacturing unit that uses very heavy machinery, and try to find out different methods they use to reduce friction in the moving parts of the machinery. So you can just ask your parents to take you, or you can ask, or your school can organize a trip to a factory where you can see this activity. Now there's a discovery. This is about Leonardo da Vinci, and he was an Italian scientist and an engineer. He was also a painter also. Now this Leonardo da Vinci is an intelligent scientist and engineer who studied friction. He stated the 2 basic laws of friction 200 years before Newton ever defined the force. You can imagine the word force was not defined, and force is very much necessary, because friction is a force. But Leonardo da Vinci has explained and given the 2 laws of friction at that time, before Newton, that is 200 years before Newton. So this is about this chapter, friction. Okay.